tell us a little bit about your upbringing, your background. What motivated you to become a doctor?
I have this little plaque from preschool that my parents still keep around, and it was about me, and it's like, my name's Melissa. I'm 5 years old. I want to be a doctor when I grow up. So, like, even in preschool, I was five, and I already knew I wanted to be a doctor. And I think that came from hearing my parents' stories coming from Mexico. They were in like rural towns of Sinaloa, and it was they didn't have access to the best healthcare, and my mom especially was like more in like the mountain area, and so seeing a doctor was pretty difficult. And so as a kid I grew up hearing that, and I just thought to myself, well, wouldn't it just be easy for me to be a doctor and just go down there in the future and help people there? And that's kind of where it started. And of course I was a kid, but medicine always like stuck with me over the years, and I was always something I went back to. And so yeah, that was kind of where it started, hearing my parents' stories.
Did you have any exposure to the healthcare field as a kid or as a teenager, like anyone in your family or anyone in your neighborhood that was in healthcare?
So it's kind of a long story, but my mom, she worked at a gas station for 13 years, like the first 10 years of my life. She was at a gas station. The gas station was going to be shut down, and so she needed a new job. And that last day she was working, she went into the gas station bathroom. She knelt on her knees and prayed and said, like, what am I going to do? Like, what job am I going to have after this? She went back to the gas station to serve the customers. And the director of the free clinic in our hometown, he stepped in to get his drink of the day. And he's like, hey, like, what's happening? All the shelves are empty. And she's like, well, we're closing. And he said, well, what are you going to do? And she's like, well, I don't know. And he said, well, we need some like Spanish speaking help at the clinic. Do you want to come help us out? And she was like, I'm not qualified for this. I have like no education. She had, up to middle school education in Mexico. And so she was really intimidated by it. But she went and she loved it there. And so she spent 15 years at the clinic, got her GED while she was there, became a medical assistant. And so I would go there every day after school. And well, my dad was working and he would come pick me up after. But it was there where I was like, whoa, like there's these doctors and like there's these nurses and very nice volunteers that would, ask me, hey, do you want to come shadow me? Like, come see what I'm doing with this patient. And I was like, sure. And so that's kind of how the idea of becoming a doctor really solidified. And when I began to know more about like the ins and outs of like applying to med school and what it meant to like be a doctor, like a practicing doctor.
What is it actually like to be a medical student? But what was your first year like for you?
The first year was really nice. Most of it's just lectures and some clinical exposure when we go to the hospital or a clinic once a week. And so that was really nice. That was like the one in-person thing we could do this pandemic, and everything else was online. So that was a bummer. Making friends was very difficult, but it was nice to have that time in the hospital or with patients because it reminded us in the midst of all the studying and like the stress of learning all the material that like in the future we're going to be doing this and we're going to be caring for patients and people. And that was, I think, one of the most impactful moments of like my year is spending time with patients and getting to know them.